So, what could a massive criminal network, a super secret college club, and a major historical event possibly have in common? I mean, they sound totally unrelated, right? Well, today we're going to peel back the layers and look at the hidden architecture of power, that secret blueprint of influence that, believe it or not, connects them all. Okay, so here's how we're going to break this down. First, we'll talk about how power really works when no one's watching. Then, we're diving deep into two very different secret networks, one criminal, one super privileged. After that, we'll zoom out and see how this stuff plays out on the world stage. And finally, we'll connect all the dots and figure out what makes them all tick. All right, section one. So here's the big idea we're exploring today. At the end of the day, it doesn't matter if a network is for, committing crimes or for creating the next generation of elites. They often run on the exact same playbook. The goal is always the same: create this closed-off system, a bubble that protects its own and gets what it wants, all while staying completely invisible to the rest of us. So let's just start with this question. Think about it for a second. What really happens in those back rooms? The places where real power is wielded, but it's all silent. How does influence actually work when it's away from the cameras, away from any public accountability? That's the rabbit hole we're going down. Okay, so to make this idea less abstract, let's look at a really stark modern example. A secret network that was all about crime and influence, the whole Jeffrey Epstein enterprise. And that's the key word, right? Enterprise. This was way more than just one person's horrific crimes. It was a whole system designed to protect him. And let's just talk about the sheer scale of this thing. $105 million. And get this, that's just the cash settlement the U.S. Virgin Islands got from his estate. That doesn't even include half the money from selling his private island. I mean, this just shows you this was no small-time operation. It was a massive financial machine, and its whole purpose was to fuel and hide the abuse. This quote from Reddit, man, it just hits the nail on the head. The whole Epstein situation was this crazy paradox. It was an open secret. People knew. There's even a story about a taxi driver in the Virgin Islands telling a tourist years ago that, yeah, everyone knows young people go to that island to meet with wealthy people. So the network wasn't really protected by total silence. It was protected by a giant wall of influence. And when you look at the components, you see it wasn't just one thing. It was this whole integrated system. The Department of Justice investigation basically laid out the blueprint. You had the trafficking, sure, but that was funded by some pretty sophisticated financial fraud, like cheating on taxes. And the whole thing was made possible by owning a private island. I mean, think about it. A physical space with zero oversight, total control. It's like each piece of the machine was designed to protect all the other pieces. All right, now let's pivot. We're going to go from a network that was purely criminal to one that's part of the establishment. We're shifting from the illicit to the ultra-elite. But what you're about to see is that the underlying architecture, the way secrecy and power work, is shockingly similar. So take a look at this place. It's at Yale University, it's called the Tomb, and it has no windows. This is the headquarters for Skull and Bones, maybe one of the most elite secret societies in America. For almost 200 years, they've picked just 15 students a year, and that small group becomes this incredibly powerful, lifelong network. We're talking presidents, heads of the CIA, titans of industry, and the secrecy, well, it literally starts with the walls of the building itself. And here's the central paradox of the whole thing. Their official mission is all about creating moral leaders for the good of the country. Sounds great, right? But the methods they use to do it are, well, they're bizarre. And they're wrapped in layers of secrecy. We're talking really macabre rituals and even, according to legend, robbing the grave of the Apache leader Geronimo to get his skull. And members have said it's still there, inside the tomb, in a glass case. So public service through grave robbing? It's a huge contradiction. So you have to ask, how do you make sure someone stays loyal for their entire life? Well, you forge a bond that's basically unbreakable, and you do it with intense shared secrets. According to Alexandra Robbins, an author who actually interviewed 100 members, the whole initiation process ends with each new member standing up and telling their entire sexual history to the other 14 people in the room. Just think about that. The goal is to create a bond so deep that betraying the group means betraying the only people in the world who know your most intimate secrets. Okay, let's zoom way, way out now. Because this idea, the power of a secret shared story, it isn't just for little clubs, elite or otherwise. The very same mechanic, controlling a story to hold a group together and justify what it does, plays out on the world stage. The control of history itself can literally shape foreign policy and define what a nation is. And for this, we're going to look at the Holocaust as a case study. So, to really get a sense of the stakes, you have to look at something as unbelievably complicated as the Havara Accord. You had the Zionist leadership in the 1930s making a deal with Nazi Germany just to try and save some Jewish assets. I mean, it was an absolutely impossible choice. But their opponents, they jumped on it immediately. They weaponized it, crafting this powerful story of collaboration that was then used as a political weapon for years and years. And this quote right here is a perfect example of what we're talking about, of memory being put into action. Germany's foreign minister, Joschka Fischer, basically argued that the lesson of no more Auschwitz was more important than the post-World War II value of no more war. He was using the memory of the Holocaust as a powerful political justification for military action in Kosovo. So you see, the past wasn't just being remembered passively, it was being deployed, it was being used. And this gets to the heart of the struggle over the narrative itself. Who owns the story? Is the main lesson of the Holocaust a specific one for the Jewish people, one that forms the basis for Israel's security? Or is it a universal lesson for all of humanity, a warning against genocide anywhere? Look, there's no easy answer here, but the fight to control that narrative is a fight for real political power, both at home and on the world stage. Okay, so let's tie this all together. We've looked at a criminal enterprise, a super elite club, and the way history gets used in politics. So what's the common thread? What's the currency that connects all of them? Well, it all comes down to the architecture, the blueprint they all use. And here it is, that hidden architecture, broken down into three basic parts. First, you have to enforce secrecy. Yeah, you've got physical walls like Epstein's Island or the tomb, but the real walls are things like oaths of silence and the threat that if one person goes down, everyone goes down. Second, there's mutual obligation. This is the glue that holds it all together, whether it's shared secrets like in Skull and Bones or shared crimes like in Epstein's Circle. It creates a bond of loyalty you just can't break. And third, you control the story. Every single one of these networks has a narrative to justify what it does, whether it's a high-minded mission of moral leadership or a political reframing of historical events. So at the end of the day, what you need to take away from this is that these hidden structures of power, whether they're used for good or for absolute evil, are shaping the world around us all the time. Getting a handle on this three-part pattern, secrecy, obligation, and narrative, that is the first crucial step. It's the key to starting to see what's really going on behind the curtain and to start asking for some accountability. So we'll leave you with this final thought to chew on. What unseen networks might be shaping your world right now? Seriously, from global politics all the way down to the places you might work, these patterns are out there. And the crazy thing is, once you learn to spot the architecture, you start seeing it everywhere, humming away just beneath the surface of everyday life.